Hello everybody, welcome back. This is process costing part 2. We're going to go through and do a weighted average example using our charts. So here is my disclaimer and my copyright notice. The information and opinions in this presentation are those of the author only and not the author's employers or affiliated organizations, including but not limited to Irvine Valley College and the South Orange County Community College District. The presentation is for educational purposes only and does not constitute any legal or accounting advice whatsoever. This presentation is copyright 2008 to 2020 by Bennett Tchaikovsky. All rights are reserved. Any distribution is strictly prohibited. Presentation is from time to time. We'll use information from third parties, the third-party information. The third-party information is the property of those respective copyright holders, and the author does not make any claim to that third-party information. So here we go with our sample problem, little Lebowski. So if you got Donnie Inc. requires multiple departments and areas in order to make a single product. On August 1st, DI had 10,000 units in beginning inventory that were 80% complete with respect to materials and 60% complete with respect to conversion. In addition to the beginning inventory, they started and completed 190,000 units in the month of August. The inventory as of August 31st, there were 50,000 units that were their ending inventory. There were 50,000 units that were 40% complete with respect to materials and 20% complete with respect to conversion. The beginning inventory costs were $122,000 for materials and $222,000 for conversion. During the month of August, DI added a $318,000 of direct materials cost and $408,000 of conversion costs. So using this weighted average method of process costing, we want to determine the equivalent units for direct materials and conversion, cost per equivalent unit for direct materials and conversion, ending balances for the WIP for direct materials, but for conversion, and then for finished goods inventory. So we're going to do this using weighted average. And just to kind of go through over here and let's take a look at our 5 different steps. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to draw 3 T accounts, one for WIP, direct materials, one for WIP conversion, and for finished goods inventory. And then basically in those T accounts, we're going to be putting in the beginning inventory amount, as well as the costs incurred during the month into those appropriate T accounts. So let's go through and do that first step first. Okay, so we were saying earlier, for our first step, what we're going to do is we're going to create 3 T accounts. The first T account we're going to be creating right here is going to be for our work in process, direct materials. We're also going to be creating, I'm just going to move this a little bit over here. We're also going to be coming over here to create work in process conversion. And then lastly, what we're going to be doing over here is we're going to have our finished goods inventory. So as we kind of said over here for our step 1, we're going to be putting in the beginning values plus our costs during the period, during the month, for direct materials, and we're also going to do the same thing for conversion. Okay, so in terms of cost for direct materials, we had beginning inventory costs were $122,000 for direct materials, and then we had $222,000 for conversion in terms of my beginning amounts. Then during the month, we added $318,000 of direct materials costs, and then we added $408,000 of conversion costs. So that's all I've gone through and I've done is I put in the beginning amounts right over here, essentially for work in process under direct materials. So let's go over and check out our second step. So right over here, what we're going to do now, our second step, so we've done the first step. We've just put the costs into the T accounts. Now what we're going to go through and do is determine the amount of equivalent units for direct materials and conversion. No matter the percentage complete of the beginning inventory, we're going to always assume that this is 100% complete. Started and completed will be 100% complete, and we're going to take the ending inventory units and multiply this by the percentage complete. So right over here, we have our units, right? So we're now on step 2. Our step 2 is we're going to determine the amount of equivalent units for direct materials and conversion. No matter the percentage complete of the beginning inventory, we're always going to assume that's 100% complete. Started and completed will be 100% complete, and then we're going to take the ending inventory units and multiply it by the respective percent complete. So in terms of units, there were 10,000 units in beginning inventory. In started and completed, there were 190,000 units. And then in ending inventory, there were 50,000 units. Okay, so, but now what I need to do is that these units are not the same with respect to direct materials. And then conversion equivalent units. Now, the first thing we said was that for beginning inventory and for started and completed, under weighted average, we assume we disregard the beginning inventory percent complete, and we're going to basically say here 10,000 units at 100%. Same over here for conversion. We disregard the percent complete for beginning inventory, right? So over here, if it says 80% complete with respect to materials, 60% complete with regards to conversion, forget it. Don't think about that. Under weighted average, we're going to do the full 100%. So this will be 10,000 units at 100% complete. As we said before in the steps, for the started and completed, 190,000. This is going to be 190,000 units times 100%. Same thing over here. Now, when it comes to my ending inventory, this is where we see a difference, right? Here, the percentages do matter. So it says over here there were 50,000 units that were 40% complete with respect to materials. So I can't just put 50 grand here. This 50,000 is only 40% complete. So what I need to do here is I'm going to take 50,000 units times 40%. This is going to give me right over here 20,000 units. Over here, these were 50,000 units that were 40% complete and 20% complete with respect to conversion. So here I'm going to take 50,000. I'm going to multiply this by 20%. So again, the logic here, 50,000 units at 20% completion is the same thing as 10,000 units at 100% completion. So now I can actually go through and do my comparisons. So over here, my total equivalent units for direct materials is going to be 220,000. My total equivalent units for conversion is going to be 210,000. So we've just done this particular step using the equivalent units under weighted average. Now let's go take a look at our step number 3. So for our step 3, we're going to determine the cost per equivalent unit for direct materials and conversion. We're going to do this separately, but what we're going to do is we're going to take the beginning WIP cost plus the cost during the month, and we're going to divide this by the total equivalent units. So let's go right over here. So my cost per equivalent unit for direct materials is going to be the beginning WIP direct materials plus my costs, my direct materials costs during the month divided by my total equivalent units for direct materials. So right over here, this is going to give me 122,000 plus 318,000, and I'm dividing this result here by 220,000. So my cost per equivalent unit is going to be $2. And it's nice being able to write your own questions where you can kind of make the stuff up and make the numbers work. These numbers are not realistic, but these numbers are here to assist you with understanding the concepts. Okay, so the next one over here is going to be my cost per equivalent unit for conversion. So this is going to be my beginning with conversion plus my conversion during the month divided by my total equivalent units for conversion. And so this part right over here will just kind of follow the same formatting. My total equivalent units for conversion are 210,000. My total cost during the month are going to be 222 plus 408, which is my beginning, plus 408, which is the cost during the month. So this is going to be 222 plus 408. For a total of 630,000. I divide this by 210, and I'm going to get a nice, round, beautiful number. If it only worked out this way always. And wow, the Google Sheet doesn't like me today. It's okay. Wow, good job, Tchaikovsky. Let's try to get this right. There we go, $3. Okay. Now, this is our step 3. We just came up with the cost per equivalent unit. The reason why we're up here assuming that this here is at 100%, notice here, this is the big difference between FIFO and weighted average, is I'm including these beginning costs in the numerator of my equation, right? So this is a big deal, right? So this is really the key difference. So when I'm doing my cost per equivalent unit using weighted average, because I'm assuming that these beginning inventory units were 100% during the period, I'm going to be including both the beginning costs and then the cost during the month in my T accounts. Okay, let's now go through and take a look at our next step. So that was step 3. For step 4, I have 2 different options. And this is now where I go through and I transfer the costs over. So the first option is I'm going to determine the amount of the ending inventory in equivalent units and multiply this by the cost per equivalent unit. Then that difference is going to be what's going over here to finished goods inventory. So when I look at this over here, my total costs and my work in process direct materials, pre any kind of adjustment, is 440,000. But I know, though, that that's actually not the right number in terms of direct materials. And why is that? Well, I only had 20,000 equivalent units left. So the ending balance in my equivalent units my ending balance of my work in process direct materials is going to be 20,000 equivalent units times $2 per equivalent unit for direct materials. So this here is my cost per equivalent unit for direct materials. This here is my cost per equivalent unit for conversion. So when I take 20,000 and I multiply this here by 2, I get $40,000. Now, how do I get from 440 down to 40? Well, here, if I credit this for 400,000, 440 minus 400,000 gives me $40,000. This is the amount that was transferred to my finished goods inventory. So right over here, This is the amount that's being transferred from this is the amount that's being transferred over. Now, one of the things here, as you saw over here, is that how else could I calculate it? Well, what we do is we're going to take the beginning inventory equivalent units plus the started and completed, and we're going to multiply this by the cost per equivalent unit. So the way I can check my work is I can take 10,000 beginning equivalent units plus 190,000 equivalent units started and completed. Let's say over here, so I get 10,000 direct materials plus 190,000 equivalent units, basic started and completed. I'm going to multiply this by 2. So this is 200,000 times $2 per unit, for a total of $400,000. So this is how I can check my work. So let's do this over here. Let's just go ahead and go right over here to conversion and do this the initial way too. So here I've got 222 and 408, or a total of $630,000. So now what I need to figure out is that how do I take out to conversion? Well, the amount that's going to be going to finished goods inventory from conversion is going to be the 10,000 here of beginning inventory plus 190,000 equivalent units for conversion. And I'm going to multiply this by my cost per equivalent unit, which is going to be $3. This here is going to be giving me $200,000 times $3, or a total of $600,000. So this here is going to be 600,000. And this here is going to go over to my finished goods inventory. Okay. All right. So my ending balance and my work in process conversion. So I take over here, I take my debits of 630. So here, my ending balance is going to be $30,000. This is my ending conversion. Now here, how do I know if this is correct? Well, I had 10,000 equivalent units ending, basically right over here, my 10,000 equivalent units. This is right from here. 10,000 units, equivalent units, conversion. I'm going to multiply this by $3 per equivalent unit. And this is going to give me the $30,000 that I have right here. So I know I have done this correct. So my suggestion to you, when you do these questions, the way you want to do it is do whatever is easiest for you, but make sure you've done the work right by going through and testing out the balances. So that is step number 4. Now we go to step number 5. We're basically going to go through and check our work. And how do we go through and check our work? Well, let's go up and add up some balances. So over here for finished goods inventory, my ending balance is going to be $1 million. Right? And where did that come from? Well, it's basically over here from direct materials and from conversion. My work in process direct materials is $40,000. My work in process conversion is $30,000. When I go through and I add up these 3 values right here, I'm going to get a total of $1,070,000. Okay. The way I can check my work is if I take my beginning direct materials I take my conversion. Remember, what is conversion? Conversion is my direct labor and my factory overhead. And if I take these costs here, right, if I just add up these costs right over here, what do these need to equal up to? Well, this needs to equal up to $1,070,000. So there I know I've actually done this question correctly. So again, this is weighted average process costing. Key is beginning inventory. How do we go through and do it? We assume 100% complete during the period, no matter what the percentages are. We're going to disregard this for weighted average, right? The beginning inventory that was 80 and 60, don't care. I will care for FIFO. But then over here, when I'm doing my cost per equivalent unit, because I'm assuming that this is 100% complete, I can consider both the beginning and the cost during the month when I'm coming up with my cost per equivalent unit. So what did the question ask us to go through and do? Equivalent units for direct materials conversion, 220 and 210. Cost per equivalent unit for direct materials and conversion, $2 and $3. Ending balances of WIP, conversion and finished goods, 40, 30, and $1 million. So that is weighted average process costing. I hope this video has helped you. Thank you for watching. If you have any comments, please send these to 1812cpa@gmail.com. And if you're going to fully send them, make sure you send the merch. Have a great one, and I will see you on the next video. Have a good one.